Legends in the sport of boxing die hard. And we recently got the opportunity to see the return to the ring of another legend, not too far gone, but still in the memory. We're talking about Nonito Donaire. Donaire, a multiple world champion several times over, returned to the ring Saturday, June 14th. And the outcome saw him place himself in position to have another go at a world title. Let's talk about Nonito, his return to the ring, and as he continues to set records, what could be on the horizon for him. There's a great deal of consideration for him to continue not only his legacy, but to thrill audiences and supporters of the sport of boxing. Nonito Donaire, the Filipino Flash. Nonito Donaire is a fighter who's in the Hall of Fame, and he's adding to that fame. When we talk about the Filipino Flash and his return to the ring on Saturday, June 14th, he competed against Andres Campos from Chile for the WBO Bantamweight interim title. Nonito came out ahead in this fight, but what we're acknowledging is an old school throwback fighter who has shown himself to be tried and true a warrior in the sport. I can recall seeing him when he burst on the scene. He was an engaging fighter who had a tremendous left hook and could get opponents out of there with basically one punch knockout power. Nonito has always been an exciting fighter, and with the titles that he has held, the IBF, IBO World Flyweight titles, when we think about him moving on and facing other fighters where he had an opportunity for the WBC and WBO World Bantam titles. Nonito was always an exciting fighter. He could end a fight later in the rounds, or he could catch you early and get you up out of there. So at 42, when he entered this bout, we really didn't know what to expect, particularly because he had been off for nearly 2 years. But he came out showing the experience that he has. A record of 43-8. Now, with 28 KOs, he's been stopped twice inside the distance. He has shown us that resiliency is an important factor, as well as having the desire and or potential to become a world elite fighter and possibly a world champion. Resiliency is very important for any fighter out there. 5'7", 68.5 reach. He is the type of fighter that has enthralled audiences for years. The battles that have seen him touch down and become something that we would love to see come back after having adversity. We go all the way back to April 2013 when he faced then a little known Guillermo Rigondeaux, and he lost a unanimous decision to Rigondeaux, even though he had him down in the 10th round. Nonito, who was trying to knock Rigondeaux out, you could see he was pressing for a KO. And especially after his previous fight, a 3rd round stoppage over Jorge Arce, he was the kind of guy that looked to please the crowd and to please his ego. But the Guillermo Rigondeaux fight had him rethink things. So next up was Vic Darchinyan. And Darchinyan had been a fighter that looked to get in there and knock other fighters out as well. Nonito returned to his old self with a 9th round stoppage of Darchinyan. And then, of course, came the upset loss in October of 2014 to Nicholas Walters. Walters was the type of fighter that no one knew much about, but he came into the fight against Nonito and he surprised the Filipino Flash. He had him down twice in the 3rd and 6th rounds of their bout. At the time that they faced one another, Walters had come in and he pretty much was winning the fight with the knockdowns. He had entered with a record of 23-0. Nonito had come in 33-1. It became a lesson. However, the type of lesson that you admire because Nonito learned. He came back after that in March of 2015 against William Prado, stopping Prado in 2 rounds, beginning a winning streak that had him go forward and press onward until he fought Jesse Magdaleno in November of 2016, a fight that saw him battling for the WBO World Bantamweight, Super Bantamweight title, 12-round decision loss. But you see, Nonito, just because he suffered a loss, he didn't give up. He came back. The next loss was an outing for April of 2018 against Carl Frampton. Now, Frampton, we now know, used to fight on that side of the world. That fight was held in Belfast. And he always has enjoyed that home cooking. Nonito bounced right back again with more victories, stringing them together until finally he faced Naoya Inoue for the IBF World Bantamweight title, and that was in November of 2019. An elder statesman who had returned to the ring after some time off, but Naoya Inoue, who had this reputation of being the monster, was a fighter that Nonito had no hesitation to step into the ring with him. And that fight proved to be very interesting, as Nonito injured Inoue. A fractured eye socket, we were told, some type of facial damage. But I'll tell you, he was the type of fighter that would just keep coming back. The resiliency. A rematch with Inoue happened a few years later in 2022, June. Nonito came out in that fight looking to knock out Inoue. He didn't want to go the distance. He didn't want to get into a shaking out of matters. He went to war with Inoue, who managed to overpower him in 2 rounds. That was for the WBC and IBF World Bantamweight titles. Inoue still holds titles today, and after that, a follow-up loss to Alexandro Santiago in July of 2023 is where Nonito decided to rest a little bit. I'm giving this background of the types of wins and losses that he had simply because I'm giving also credit to a man where it wasn't about just having wins on his record. It was about having the experiences on his record. And that's something that's so invaluable, that when you have no fear about going in there and you allow nature to take its course, bring in everything that you have accrued through your career to place it on display against your opponent. Nonito has done that with not only a sense of pride and valiant expression, but also with a spirit of perseverance. So when he faced Campos on Saturday, June 14th, the Chilean didn't think that he was going in against someone that would end up boxing him the way he did. When we look back on the bout, this was a fight where the judges had Nonito clearly ahead at the time of the stoppage. There were moments where he was just boxing, dropping right hands, left hooks, not being impatient, not rushing matters, but allowing the shorter Campos to be controlled with his ring generalship and his jab. Something that there were times throughout his career Nonito may get away from just for being a little overzealous, if not over anxious. Now Campos, who sort of resorted to illegal tactics, headbutts that looked intentional as well as not intentional, because when they would come together on the inside, he was spearing with his head. But an accidental clash of heads in the 9th caused a deep cut over Nonito's right eyebrow, who said he was unable to see, and the ref ordered the fight go to the scorecards. And post-fight interview would show the eye nearly shut. But Nonito thanked everyone for the opportunity. The fight took place in Buenos Aires, and he said that he was going to press forward, and he's looking for the opportunity to face for that WBA Bantamweight title. I believe Nonito has said that Saturday's victory and the interim championship gives him an accumulated 13 belts in his career, which is more than an accomplishment for a fighter such as he. At 42, though he be the elder statesman in the division, there's no one like the Filipino Flash that can put it on like he does. And so this is a salute to Nonito coming out there and representing himself and his family in the most respectful ways, showing those who are on the horizon how it's done as a real walking, living, fighting, battling champion and legend. So again, salute to Nonito Donaire, and I can't wait to see he get that next opportunity at the world title. This is Stormy B Man. Shout out to the mighty LDBC and Liberated Perspective and Third Eye View of the World. For more content such as this, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Leave comments and let's discuss further your thoughts about Nonito, his accomplishments, and what you would like to see from him going forward. Do you think he can win another world title? Or do you think he's run his gamut? Let's discuss further. Peace to everyone out there, and everyone please remain safe.